So let's say you're flying an airplane, or maybe a flying school's airplane, and it developed some sort of issue. For example, the attitude indicator fails. In any situation in the airplane, the first thing you should probably do is nothing. Just think a little bit, relax, think about how this could affect the flight, and if you can carry out the flight safely. So it would depend on the situation. If it's a nice sunny day, good weather, having an attitude indicator fail is not a big deal. So I would continue my flight, I would carry out the flight, and proceed to my destination. Now before that airplane can fly again, or if the pilot finds a problem with the airplane, then the pilot is actually mandated in the CARS, Canadian Aviation Regulations, to snag the airplane. And by that I mean that you would go to the aircraft logbook, the journey log, and write in the details of that snag. But before you snag it, you should troubleshoot it. Does the airplane really have an issue? But if you've done all that, then by law, you should snag it in the book and describe it in detail. And the more specific you can be, the better with the snag. Don't just write in the logbook, airplane broken. What happens is the mechanic, the aircraft maintenance engineer is going to look at the snag, and he's going to be looking for, what is the real problem, and perhaps any information that can help him with diagnosing what exactly is the problem and what he should fix is helpful. So before that airplane can fly again, either one of two things has to happen. Either the item is fixed, and then it would be signed out in the logbook by the aircraft maintenance engineer, or it's deferred. So the aircraft engineer would look at the issue and decide, does this affect the airworthiness of the airplane? So in the case of an attitude indicator, it does not. Day VFR equipment doesn't require an attitude indicator. So that could be a case where you could defer it. Usually it's deferred because maybe the part isn't on hand or they can't instantly fix the problem. So that's why it's important for the pilot to look at the logbook before he flies to see if there's any deferred snags in the book. And the question of is to snag or not could be kind of a difficult question. Me as a flying school owner, I hate snags. That means the airplane has to be grounded. So we want to return it to flight as soon as possible. But so I have to accept whatever snags are written, and then we have to deal with them. And that's really the way you should deal with it in your environment too, that if you feel that this is a problem, you need to write it down. So what is it also depends on what you're doing with the airplane. So for example, if the landing light is burnt out, well, you can fly the airplane just fine during the day. You would need to get it fixed before the airplane flies at night. So it depends a little bit on what the mission is, if you can complete it with that snag. However, if you feel as a pilot that you can't fly with the landing light even during the day, say it's hazy or smoky or something, then that's your call as a pilot. You don't have to fly, and you can snag it. So the frustration with snags from a flying school perspective is that the students are new, they don't really know. So for example, radio snags are very common. Maybe the switch to select radio 1 or 2 is in the wrong position, or the headset jack isn't pushed in. So before you write a snag, make sure you've done what you can do to troubleshoot. Because very often these snags can be solved by a flip of a switch. Students tend to go, oh, it's broken, that's it. Like there's no troubleshooting. And in many ways, the training is at fault because, we teach emergency procedures and then ding, 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 they start going through checks. But in reality, it's never so clear of when or what. So it's always best to think. I would also argue that it's just fine. Talk to your flight instructor, talk to the aircraft maintenance engineer. You don't have to make this decision alone if you're going to snag an airplane or not. Here at Harv's, whenever you have a snag, we write it in the logbook, but we also have an online system as part of our booking system. And if you experience a snag, we not only enter it in the logbook, but we also enter it in the booking system, Flight Schedule Pro, so that anybody who else is going to be flying that airplane can see it before they're dispatched out on their flight. As a customer in a flying school, sometimes you don't have access to the logbooks. For example, we have an exemption to you don't have to carry the logbook on a flight that starts and ends at our home base. So we have a system on our dispatch computer that allows people to also enter the snag, so you can easily see what's been snagged and deferred on the airplane, in addition to looking in the journey logbook.